Welcome. My name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. And this episode of the Who Dat Discussion will be a one that's we're just going to analyze the draft. We're going to analyze who the Saints picked up, how did the Saints get better during last weekend, and where are the Saints going to move forward from this draft as we move to the mini camps and then training camp, preseason, regular season. And I think we're just gonna get right into it. And very interesting draft. We did a quick episode to highlight the Saints' second round pick, Erik McCoy, who I really, really like, guys. I'm just gonna say it. A player that, look, I went over it. I'm not really gonna go over it again. They move up. They got their guy. They do go up next year's second round pick. But hopefully that's another 60, around the 62, 63, 64 maybe, hopefully, second round pick. And it's not really that bad there. I think McCoy is perfect for this team. He's going to play, probably going to start there. I think there's going to be a training camp battle, preseason battle between him and Nick Easton. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints played McCoy over Easton, left Easton as more of a Senio Calamente role, which I would be really fine with. The Saints put their depth back where it was in 2017, where it was needed. So really good job there. He is from Texas A&M. I forgot if I said that before, but to me, really good pick there. I'm not going to go into huge depth because I did talk about it in our it was a quick episode, guys. It was like 12 minutes, but it was on Erik McCoy. So if you guys want more stuff on him, definitely check him out there. It's on all the platforms on YouTube, Podomatic, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, all those great sources. Definitely check that little episode out. Then we're going to move over to the Saints' fourth round pick. They traded up again, which is to me not really a surprise, and they get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the University of Florida. And look, again, he's that type of player that, look, he can play basically anywhere in the secondary, which is amazing. That's number one. Great thing. That's huge because why is that huge? Because the Saints love players with versatility. They love those players that can play multiple positions, and that's what Johnson does here. He plays safety, which he could play up in the box. He can play back. Then he could also play slot corner, which is huge for the Saints. They needed that type of player who could just play all around. To me, really, really, good pick for the Saints. He has amazing combine grade and prospect grade on NFL.com, and it's almost a 6. And a 6 is a instant starter, so he's a little below an instant starter. But it says he's a good chance to become an NFL starter, which is, to me, look, he's gonna be who's a really good value for what he got. His projection was going to be the second round. Early second round, and he fell to the Saints in the fourth round. Really good job by the Saints to get their guy. And look, he was used in blitzes really well. He was used in that slot corner position really well. That's when he was at his best at the slot corner. And then he would also put back kind of that Marcus Williams position. He played there, and he played really good. Look, to me, overall, really good stuff from him. His strength is that he's a really long frame. He's well built. He's smooth. He's athletic. He's impressive versatility, as we've said. He's really good balance between the target and the quarterback, which is really good. So he's good at reading defenses. That's huge. He has pretty great makeup speed. People think that's pretty good to very good. And, he has size to separate. So he's good size, especially in the slot. That's really big. And then also he's pretty good on the run support as well, especially when he's in the box. He has a lot of great things. Little things is that his footwork when he's playing cover corner could be a little better. But he's doing so many things that sometimes he's not going to be the best at that. Sometimes he does get a little overcommitted against receiving routes and stuff, but you can definitely change that. Sometimes gets overexpended and loses some balance. But look, this is all stuff that could be worked on and got to the level that it needs to be. This is what the sources told NFL Network. They said, go watch the Florida State game from last year, and that is who he should be in the NFL. He's fast and he will hit you, and he's going to get cornerback love because of his size, but he's a free safety. That's what an AFC personnel director said about Gardner-Johnson. Here's my analysis on him, is I think he's going to come in here, and you may not see a lot of him first year, especially if the Saints are healthy. If the Saints aren't healthy, I think he's probably a starter level. And, to me, he's fourth on the Saints depth chart right now in that secondary. Obviously, you have your first two corners, which you have obviously Lattimore and you have Eli Apple, which we knew coming into the year that was going to be it. Your safeties, I think this gives you safety help because you're going to play probably three safeties now, which is, I think, fine. It gives the Saints to play those 20 snaps. You don't need Kurt Coleman anymore, which to me is great. He's an upgrade over Kurt Coleman. If anything, he can play his 20 snaps, and he's better than Kurt Coleman. We know that for sure. So that's a plus right there. But to me, he's going to have that third safety role. But if he wanted to start, that's not really a starting position. I think that he would have to leapfrog Patrick Robinson. Excuse me there. And also he would have to leapfrog PJ Williams. And will he be able to do that in year one? But maybe PJ Williams leaves next year. And then maybe Patrick Robinson. And then he's number two. And then Patrick Robinson, he got hurt last year. Maybe gets hurt again. We don't really know. It's really good to have that depth. And I think it was huge to get that safety. Von Bell, you may have to give him a contract. Maybe you don't want to. But to me, overall, it gives the Saints a lot of depth back there. Some cheap talent. Some cheap, really good talent. Really, the value for this pick was spot on. The Saints said they got 3 guys in the top 70 in this draft, and they only had 2 picks in the top 100. That's when you know the Saints got great value, and to me, really good job by the Saints. They moved up, they got their guy. To me, the secondary is going to be really good, and this adds to me this is I think one of the best secondaries in the NFL. I think it's top 10 for sure, and this just adds to that really good stuff there. So now we're going to move on to the Saints' 6th round pick, and that is going to be with the 177th pick. The Saints selected Saquon Hampton out of Rutgers. And look, to me, when looking at Hampton, he can play. Look, he's going to be – the Saints had him in their top 70, first of all. Let's put that there. He ran a 4.48 in the 40-yard dash. He's a traditional safety, though. But he's a huge – you know what I think is really big about Hampton? He plays special teams. He's going to be a special team star right away. Put Justin Hardy, put Hampton, get Chris Banjo. This is just such a good special teams core here. I'm sorry there. And to me, really good job by the Saints to get another player to suit their depth. I know it's another safety. And you guys are going to tell me, well, the Saints could have picked a wide receiver X, Y, and Z. And maybe they could have picked this guy, that guy, late, maybe a tight end earlier, or maybe someone else, maybe an edge rusher. But the Saints just picked the best available player. Still, to me, he's got really good value. When you're looking at it, he is a traditional safety. He's going to play in the box. He's going to be a player, though, that's going to be used, especially for this year's purposes, on special teams. And I really don't think that everyone, they're saying, oh, these wide receivers and everything. Well, that wide receiver wouldn't have probably played a lot for the Saints. He probably would have been a 4th or 5th receiver, especially in the 6th round. This is a 6th round player. NFL.com calls them he's a lot of special teams potential. That's what they think right now, which is to me what it is. But I just think that, they call him a 6th, 7th round projection, which to me is what the Saints got him for. They got the right pick here. But the Saints had him in their top 70, or they had someone else in their top 70. Maybe they had Elijah Mack in their top 20, top 70, but I mean, that's what the Saints had on their board. He was a team captain, which shows he's a team leader. He does have NFL size, which is really nice for the Saints. He's a pretty good ball tracker. And, to me, when you look at him, very physical, that, he can, play in box safety. That's what the Saints are going to get out of him if he's going to be a really good player. I think the box safety rule is going to be there. And he's very, very good in kick and punt returns. Kick coverages, He's done it really well, and he's going to keep on doing a really good job. But there are some weaknesses, obviously, to players like this. He doesn't really have the instincts yet, which is, look, he's a very raw player, but he has the physical intangibles. Just doesn't really have the full, his very rough edges right now. But, we could shave off those edges, get a really good player. He also missed a couple games to injuries over the last couple of years. So I think when you're looking at it, it was, for the 6th round, good value. And I don't think the Saints, they picked the best available player in their mind. So they got what they wanted. So to me, that's a fine pick there. So now we're going to move over to the Saints' next pick, and that's going to be in the 7th round with the 231st pick. The Saints selected Elijah Mack out of Notre Dame. And what do I think about Mack is that he's going to be a player that is going to come up, and he's going to be able to catch the ball. He's going to be able to slot out into the slot, and flex out into the slot, I should say. And he's going to catch balls, just like Dan Arnold did. I think a little better. He's runs routes pretty well. He did get a pretty good grade on NFL.com, which is saying NFL backup, and even more with the potential to start. To me, when you look at it, I think he's going to be probably a poor man's Jimmy Graham here, which is going to be, he's a player that's going to be able to flex out. He's going to be able to catch a lot of balls, and if he ever gets to that full potential, he can start at tight end. Do I think that Jared Cook, Josh Hill, Alazi Mack is a good 3 tight end corps? For sure. That's a really good, solid group right there. And what do I like about him most? He'll beat out Dan Arnold. I think he will. I think he'll become this 3rd tight end here. We'll see what Dan Arnold has left in him. A lot of people are not very high on him after he dropped the pass in the NFC Championship game, but he did come a long way. But I do think that Mack is better than Arnold because he could play at least traditional sometimes. Look, he could play in the slot really well. We know that. He's a athletic ability, and he'll probably be becoming a better blocker if he's willing to put in the effort, which the 6th-round pick he probably will be able to. He comes off the snap really good, a good push early with his routes. He's good straight line speed, and he did run well at the combine for a tight end. I think he ran a 4.7. That's really good for a tight end. He showed the ability to make body adjustments, track the ball really good for Saints tight ends in the slot. That's huge, and he's good in finishing the ball in traffic. He's going to put jump balls up there. Look, when you look at the weaknesses, look, he's inconsistent, which is a little of a problem with his routes. But look, he's very, very raw again. He doesn't really shake anyone in the open field, not a huge open field player. And he has some tightness when blocking, which is, again, he doesn't always put in the effort. He didn't always in college put in the effort to block, but he always didn't have to because he was always split out wide. So to me, I don't think that it's going to be a huge problem. He also had a little drop problem over the last year, so we'll see if he'll be able to fix that. But I do think that he's a better player than Dan Arnold. I think he'll win that job, and I think he'll help the Saints out right away. That's what I feel from Mack there. And then the Saints' final pick of the draft before the undrafted free agents is going to be Caden Ellis with the 244th pick in the 7th round. This is a player that I knew the Saints were going to pick this type of player. I told you guys before that the Saints would pick a linebacker that's probably can play special teams, but's a gamer. And they were gamed out and they balled out in college, and now they're going to come onto an NFL roster and be that guy who's going to always try their 110%. They're going to get out there. They're going to play good. They're going to hustle the ball. I love those types of players. And Caden Ellis is this player. And what I think about Ellis is he had an amazing career in Idaho. It's Idaho, so it's obviously not the best, it's not the best football, town. It's not the best football program there. But he went there. He had other offers, goes to Idaho, and does a really good job. He ends up, his prospect grade was just an NFL backup, but out of Idaho, that's what you're thinking. He had around 6 projections and goes in the 7th. That's pretty good, for him. His father coached his team. That's why he was really on it, and he went to Idaho there. Guys, sorry, I said that again, but that's why he went there, because his dad coached. He is an NFL caliber frame with more. He was a 4-year starter. He's got a lot of versatility, a lot of tackles for loss over the last 2 seasons, 31. Could be an edge rusher if it works out for him, and his hands is quick and twitchy, there. And he has strong swipe and punch moves. I do think that, he has really good toughness, strength. This is all stuff that I thought the Saints were looking at a player to get in that 7th round. This is what they got. Really, really good, production there. And, and then also when you look at, his weaknesses, he has little fluid problems. He dominated blockers at the lower level. Can he do it in the NFL level is yet to be seen. And also production at these small levels, will that go and turn into a production at the NFL level? We don't really know that yet. But he's going to come in. He's going to be a special teams player to start. And then I think I could see him working his way up there. He's kind of like Alex Anzalone type player. Very raw. We'll see what happens. Do I think he'll probably be a starter for us? Probably not, but you never know. He's going to fill that special teams role for the Saints, and they'll probably do a really good job there. To me, this is a good draft. Really solid. I'm going to give it an A- overall, maybe even an A, because I do think those first 2 picks were amazing value. Both those picks, A+. A++. Eric McCoy is supposed to go in the 1st round. He drops to the 2nd. Saints will have to get him. Perfect move. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, supposed to go in the early 2nd, falls all the way to the 4th. Saints move up and get him. Great job. It's just really good drafting by Mickey Loomis, Jeff Arnold, Sean Payton. Amazing job. Then from there, I think they got a good player in Elijah Mack, who a lot of players are going to like because he can, he's like basically like a wide receiver that, tight end right now. I do see a lot of Jared Cook in him. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I do see a lot of Jared Cook in him. And then also they get Ellis, who, to me, he can go up and play. And then you have Saquon Hampton, who's a really good special teams player. Overall, really good draft by the Saints. But what I really liked by the Saints, and I'm going to say this, I loved their UDFAs. I loved multiple UDFAs. Usually you don't love multiple. But for the Saints, they did. I think I found a lot of players that I like. I'm going to pull up the list for you guys to see the exact list. But I'm just going to run off some names that I really like on the football field for the Saints. So the first player I like a lot is Jordan Humphries. Sorry, guys, with that. He, to me, is a player that could really work with the Saints. He could probably play that Dez Bryant role if we don't bring in Dez Bryant. I'm going to get to that later, guys. But I think he could play that Dez Bryant role. Maybe you bring both of them in to see who does better, and then you just, you just take the better of the one. He had a slow start, but a really good 2018 showing with 9 touchdowns, and he had over 1,600 career receiving yards. Just that red zone threat. He's a red zone threat, and he could jump up, get balls, do a really good job. To me, that's a really solid pick there by the Saints. I do really like it. Some people don't like it, but I love it. And then you also get Divine Ozigobu. Sorry if I didn't say that right. Out of Nebraska. He's 6 feet, 235 pounds, and he got to the end zone a lot in college, 21 times in 4 years for the Cornhuskers, and over 2,000 yards. And if he's that third guy for the Saints, which I think he should be, that's a really solid player. People are expecting him to go mid-rounds, and he goes all the way to undrafted free agent. Really good job. I think the Saints got their third backup running back in this. I like him a lot. Then, this is an interesting one because this is a player that had a lot of off-the-field issues, and with the domestic violence, all that stuff. And I'm not going to condone that because that's awful. And he's got to work that out. But on the football field, I think he can play, and that's going to be Carl Granderson, edge rusher out of Wyoming. He had a mid-round projection, 4 to 6 round, He had reps as a 3-4 rusher, but he's the size he can move right to 4-3 edge rusher. He had 35.5 tackles for loss and 16.5 sacks. He gets behind the image. He makes plays. He has a weakness against the runs, but for the Saints, it's going to be a situational role anyways. I really like this player on the field. Off the field, he's got his issues. I don't know what's going to happen off the field. We'll see that in a few months. But on the field, I think this guy can play. And right now, if the Saints are wanting talent, I think he's got talent, and the Saints got another good value pick right there, especially for his physical intangibles there. Also, a couple other players that I liked is going to be, let me just scroll down this list, guys, right here, is also Corbin Kaufuski from Brigham Young. People like, is he going to be he doesn't really have a position. That's what killed him. So he played linebacker, played edge rusher, played defensive end. He's got a ton of athleticism, and this season he had 9 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss. The guy can play. They just got to find a position for him. I think they'll be able to, and I think he's got potential. Am I saying these guys are going to be great? No. But I think they have potential to be very good NFL starters. That's what I'm saying there for the Saints. I do think, when you're looking at the Saints, I think they had a very solid draft, and I think they had a really solid, undrafted free agents period. And I think we're going to see it come up, and I really think that the Saints solid team going into next season. But I'm going to tell you guys how the Saints could just get a little better here, because there are a lot of free agents left, and I'm going to tell you a few that I would like the Saints to sign. I'll tell you guys a couple players that I like, and I do think that the Saints should look at them, because I do think the Saints still have, I don't want to say a hole per se, but I think they could get better at some positions. And there are two positions. It's wide receiver, and it's also going to be the edge rusher position. They got a couple of UDFAs, as I said before, that I like. I like Carl Granderson on the field, and then I like the kid out of BYU. I think solid. I do think that the Saints could do a really good job with these players, put them in the right position to do good. But if the Saints, we all know that we will also want to look at the free agency to get better. I think the Saints said they'll look into free agency to get better, and I think this is going to continue. I'm sorry there, guys. I think this is going to continue into the upcoming months before the season. Obviously, Dez Bryant, all the Saints fans know it. I do think the Saints will sign him after this. I do. I think they're going to give him a shot. I don't think it's going to be, we're starting you second receiver day one. But they're going to give him a shot to get a role on this team. I think he's going to do really good with it, and I think he will make this team. That's kind of my bold prediction. I think Dez Bryant will play on the Saints this year, and all those people that got Dez Bryant's jerseys will be finally wearing them proud as he does play for the Saints this season. I do think that's going to happen. He has a long way to go, so I don't think the Saints will sign him until he's completely healthy. I do think that is going to happen, though. But I do think he's going to play, and the Saints, I think they know it, that they still maybe are a little short of the receiving. And I do. I think the Saints are missing that number 2 receiver. I think Dez Bryant could be that number 2 receiver. He's going to cost the veteran minimum. So let's just go check it out. Let's see what he's got for this team. I think he's going to come up. I think he's going to have a pretty good year with the Saints. And then he's probably going to get a deal elsewhere. Or maybe it's with the Saints. But I do think Dez Bryant's going to come in and fill that number 2 role for the Saints. And just make this team really with no holes. I think that's possible. Another possibility is sign Ziggy Ansah, who, again, is a player that up and down, but he's an edge rusher, and he's a good edge rusher. I think, from time to time, and I think with the Saints, he'll be a good edge rusher. He's going to get his sacks. And I do think, all that athleticism won't go to waste, especially with the Saints. They're going to coach him up the right way, and he is going to be a solid player for the Saints. We'll see if the Saints go out and sign him, but I do think that he's a player that can come up and just be really, really good. When looking at it, he's a boomer bust player. So you pair that with the Davenport. You get all the boom plays from Ziggy Ansah, and then you just try to conserve them, get his snaps, get his amount of snaps a game, and then you get Davenport the other ones. You give Davenport the bigger role, and then you're still giving Ansah those roles on third down. You get him 5-6 sacks. You get Davenport 6-7 sacks. That's a really good 2 to pair with Cam Jordan, who's going to be 13 sacks, probably around there. I think that's really big. But there are a couple of really other good defensive players here. Dominican Sue, who the Saints looked at last year, he's available if they want to get a 3-tech in there, or even a 5-tech to play defensive tackle. Right there. You could even bring in Corey Liggett if you want a defensive tackle. I don't think the Saints will go that way, but they could do it. If they want to bring more O-line depth, they can bring in a guy. Like either Andrew Levitri. He's a top possible player they can bring in. They want to go tight end. I don't think they will anymore, but you can go Jermaine Gresham. Morris Claiborne's still out there. These are guys that are still out there. Michael Crabtree if the Saints. I think that could be a good move for the Saints, especially if he's willing to take less than $5 million. I don't think the Saints will go after him. I think they rather go after a familiar player with Dez, but maybe they don't. Maybe they go out of their comfort zone and pick up Michael Crabtree. I would not be surprised with that there. Gilbert Quinn, I don't think they'll look at him, but maybe you go after a player like a Deion Sims if you wanted another tight end to bring into camp. This is all possible. Kurt Coleman, I don't think they'll bring him back. Muhammad Wilkerson, he's another player that maybe you can bring in here. These are all possibilities. Jermaine Kearse, maybe you bring him in here. Marshawn Lynch is retired, but there's actually an interesting fact. I know it's not a Saints fact, but he may come back after that Isaiah Crowell injury. So that's interesting there. Terrence Williams, he's still out there. He was on the Cowboys last year. I think we all know that. Seth Roberts, Mike Wallace, another wide receiver the Saints wanted a deep threat. There's a lot of guys out here. Bilal Powell, another player. Guys, I'm just going through this list right now. There's a lot of players that could come up for the Saints and be really good. Danny Shelton's in there. Haloti Ngata is in there. I think he may have retired. But anyway, I do think that this team, they can get better right here. And I think they're going to have a real shot to do it. Will it happen? I think they're going to sign a couple players. I do. I think the Saints are going all in on this year. I really do. These next 2 years, you trade up, you get your players, you got Jared Cook, who I think is the key of the Saints offseason here. And right now I have the Saints as an A-minus offseason because they got Jared Cook. That was what they're supposed to do. They added depth at the line, at both lines. That's what they were supposed to do. Check. And then really after that, add more skill players. Now the Saints have to add the receiver. I think if you add a receiver, add an edge rusher, you give them an A because there's nothing else they can do. They at least did their thing. So I don't know if the players are going to work out. I think they will, but we'll see that in September. But overall, really good right now. I'm going to give them an A-minus. If they got an edge rusher, I put them up to an A, or they got one wide receiver, put up to an A. If they get both an edge rusher and receiver, A+. That's just what I'm feeling for the Saints all season. There also one set of news before we sign off, and that is going to be that the Saints are not going to pick up Eli Apple's fifth-year option, which would have paid him $14 million. I think the Saints will get a deal done with Eli Apple, just not for $14. He knows he's not worth that. The Saints know he's not worth that. Was not a surprising deal. I think he's going to probably be around that $8 million range, maybe even $7 million range. Cut that in half. I give him 3 years, $20 million. I think he would take that too. So that's a possibility. Maybe give him 3 years, $18 million. I would give him a Patrick Robinson type deal. I think he's as good as that type of player. And also, one more set of news, guys. I almost forgot about this. It actually came out when I was recording this podcast, and is that the Saints are actually going to be extending their lease at the Superdome, and there's going to be major renovations at the Superdome long term. They're closing in on it. This is going to make the Saints, New Orleans, their home for many years. This would actually confirm it, as we'd all know that the Saints were not leaving anytime soon, especially the popularity at the team, just completely has, it's always been amazing. But I think, even post Katrina, it made so much more importance to the city. And if they ever left, I think it would be a disservice to everybody, not only in New Orleans, but across the NFL. So that will probably never happen. But this would keep the team in New Orleans through 2035. So it's 2019 right now. That's at least, they would be 17 years in New Orleans. Could be even longer. It will be even longer. I'm not even going to say could, guys. It will be longer than that. And this is really great stuff there. It's going to put them another overhaul of the Superdome, which is great. Within 10 years. That's all great stuff there. I just wanted to add that in at the end of the podcast there, but that was just a quick set of news. So with all that said, I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. If you like this episode, if you like this podcast as a whole, you can follow us on Twitter at the WhoDatThis, on Instagram at WhoDatDiscussion, on Podomatic at the WhoDatDiscussion, and then also you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Google Play channel, and our Spotify channel at the WhoDatDiscussion. On YouTube, please leave a comment down below, hit that notification bell, all that fun stuff. On iTunes, leave that 5 out of 5 review. That would be really helpful for me. If you guys give more reviews, we can give you more content. That's all, great stuff there. I do think the Saints are doing good in this offseason. Solid draft. I got to give them an A there. We're going to look ahead. If any free agent news comes up, we'll definitely, give that to you guys. We're going to go back to the weekly podcast, add some film studies in there, and that's really our future schedule here at the WhoDatDiscussion. So with all that said, I want to say thank you, prove 'em right, and Who Dat?